Time Warner Cable is pleased to be an underwriting sponsor for Carolina Week.
Coming up on the February 14th edition of Carolina Week.
Program cuts and higher tuition. I'm Preston Stanley. I'll tell you how the university's budget problems will be affecting your wallet again.
We'll bring you the latest about the never-ending student body president elections.
In sports, the men's basketball team survives a scare at Clemson and a successful start to lacrosse season.
Weathercaster Joe Belanger will tell us if this early taste of spring will last.
All that and a myth that keeps Carolina romance alive. Carolina Week starts right now.
From the James F. Goodman Studio in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, connecting campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Get ready to dig deeper into your pockets to pay for your education next year. Good evening, I'm Eddie Sykes.
And I'm Joelle Kaplan. Thank you for joining us. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, tuition is going up again. It looks like students in the UNC system will be paying more and getting less. The UNC Board of Governors met Friday to vote about cuts in course sections and an increase in tuition. Preston Stanley joins us live in the studio. Preston, what's the latest?
That's right, Joelle. The BOG gave the green light to yet another round of tuition hikes and program cuts, but not without students putting up a fight. We caught up with a former student who had to leave UNC because her financial struggles were just too much.
What do we want? No tuition hikes! When do we want it? Now!
Eva Panwani should be looking forward to graduation, but after last year's tuition increase, she had to drop out.
I guess I'll just stay in retail for the rest of my life. I guess that all these years of honors classes, of AP, of attending the North Carolina School of Science and Math is just going to lead me to selling toys.
Friday morning as the BOG was in its meeting, Panwani was part of a group of protesters that walked from the pit to the General Administration building.
No cuts! No fees! Education should be free!
There they met with UNC System President Tom Ross and Chairwoman Hannah Gage to talk about tuition increases and program cuts. Ross says the program is a continuous struggle.
We are constantly trying to balance the need for educational excellence with trying to keep tuition as low as possible so that the university is accessible.
Among the BOG's approvals, a 6.8% tuition increase, the elimination of 60 statewide programs, and the consolidation of several departments. UNC Chapel Hill will see 4 of those program cuts, including getting rid of the doctoral program in linguistics.
Our chancellors have looked hard at programs that have low enrollment, that aren't, that they feel are not efficient programs any longer. And so they've gone through a thoughtful process. Those are being eliminated in a way that won't damage students.
Still, for the protesters and students like Panwani, it's all bad news.
But the chair of the Board of Governors, he just came down and looked me in the face and says, don't give up, you know, there's a way. But you know what, y'all, I've looked. I spend most of my free time looking for solutions to get me out of where the economic crisis has left me.
Education cuts! No ifs! No buts! No education cuts! No ifs!
Now, Ross did say he wants to hear more from the students, but regardless, tuition will be going up. As far as Panwani goes, she says she saved enough to attend community college in the fall.
Preston, you said tuition will go up 6.8% next year. How much does that actually amount to for students?
Well, an in-state student will see an increase of about $400, but out-of-state students should expect to pay more than $1,000 extra next year.
Wow, that looks like it's going to be tough times ahead. That's Preston Stanley starting us off live in the studio. Thanks, Preston. Protesters at the BOG meeting also rallied for free education rights for all, including illegal immigrants. Sponsors introduced House Bill 11 in the General Assembly on February 1st. If passed, it would make it illegal for any undocumented immigrant to attend a higher education institution in North Carolina. Currently, undocumented immigrants can attend any institution as long as they pay out-of-state tuition. Protesters say the bill goes against human rights.
And we think that this basically amounts to a new kind of segregation. It's racist, and we won't stand for it, and we're going to defeat it.
The law wouldn't apply to students in the middle of a program or to students enrolled in secondary school while taking college courses.
Tuition increases, budget issues, and now a fine for something that was permitted at the time. According to North Carolina law, only 18% of UNC students can be from out of state. But last year, the university gave out-of-state students with full academic or athletic scholarships in-state status before the legislature repealed the law to make it okay to do so. Because of the change, 38 students went from in-state to out-of-state status, putting UNC 13 students past the 18% mark. The Board of Governors fined the university more than $158,000, the amount the state would have had to pay for the 13 extra students. In an editorial, the Daily Tar Heel called the fine punitive, not productive. Despite the hits UNC faces, Governor Bev Perdue says cuts to the UNC system won't be as bad as expected. We'll hear the details as she gives her State of the State address tonight in Raleigh. Earlier in the semester, Governor Perdue told UNC system schools to prepare for possible 15% cuts. The state budget deficit was projected to be almost $4 billion. New information shows that the shortfall could be less than that, and the UNC system might see smaller cuts.
We might finally be on the verge of finding out who the student body president will be next year. It's been almost a week since the Board of Elections announced the results of other races in the Carolina Week newsroom. But Board Chair Andrew Phillips couldn't announce the SBP results because of a lawsuit challenging the candidacy of Ian Lee. The Student Supreme Court could rule on Phillips' motion to dismiss the suit tomorrow. A dismissal would clear the way for the board to tell us if there's a new SBP or if there will be a runoff. Trespassing incidents at the law school have officials reevaluating the law library's visitation policy. Currently, the law library is open to the public 24 hours a day. The trespassing incidents have involved homeless people taking lunches out of refrigerators in open areas. Students have been meeting to discuss concerns and hope to have a new policy soon.
The second of two co-defendants in the 2009 cocaine bust that led to a university review of the Greek system now knows his fate. Jonathan Ray Plymale faces 20 months in jail and 5 years of probation. Police seized 76.8 grams of the drug at co-defendant Eliza McQuail Vaughn's Chancellor Square apartment in September of 2009. Police found an additional 121 grams at Plymale's apartment in a building associated with the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity. Drugs continue to be a problem for Chapel Hill police. Cocaine arrests are on the rise. Chapel Hill police say they've made 6 arrests related to cocaine charges since the start of the month. The charges include felony acts of purchasing, selling, and distributing the illegal drug. Police also say 2 of the arrests were part of an anti-narcotic effort they've been working on since November.
Well, we know the drill: classes, extracurricular activities, and maybe even a part-time job.
It sometimes gets too much, coming up the effects of being overcommitted.
The fish at Lake Crabtree and Briar Creek contain PCB chemicals that are very dangerous to your health. So catch and release every time you fish. For more information, call 919-707-5900 or check the webpage.
Detalles sencillos tienen el mayor impacto. Por eso toma el tiempo y hoy sea un buen papá.
Hey, there are a lot of ways we can help our community. Spending our money in Orange County, whether it's filling up the car or shopping at local businesses, helps maintain our roads, improves our children's schools, and creates jobs. Spending your money locally helps us all in a big way. So remember, shop Orange first.
In today's tough job market, college students are feeling the pressure to become involved in as much as possible so they can fill their resumes with things that will impress employers. But is it too much? Josh Miles has the story.
UNC senior Natalie Fiodo says she's overcommitted. Peace and quiet are luxuries amid her involvement in classes, an internship, and several campus organizations. Despite the strain, Fiodo says there's a method to the madness when it comes to her future employment.
What they look at is what I've accomplished thus far. So when I'm applying for jobs, that's the kind of thing that I need to put in my resume.
Fiotto isn't the only one feeling the strain. The attempt to balance schoolwork with many other activities is a chore for many students at UNC. Finding a balance may be challenging, but the folks here with Student Life and Activities are working hard to ensure that students have what they need to succeed. Tony Patterson works with students on a daily basis and says issues with overcommitment and competitiveness start in high school.
Then once people get here, the culture is they see their peers around them involved in so many activities that sometimes I think people feel they have to do more just to keep up.
Patterson realizes the heavy load students carry and has some words of wisdom regarding commitment.
My biggest advice is always from even C-tops until if I'm talking to a junior or a senior, it's really figure out what your priorities are and sort of where you see yourself and where you want to be and get deeply involved in something.
As the co-director of UNC Build-A-Block, a humanitarian group that builds homes for the less fortunate, Fiotto is deeply involved in something important. She's attempting to maintain all of her commitments, taking things one step at a time. In Chapel Hill, I'm Josh Miles, Carolina Week.
Some UNC officials recommend quality rather than quantity when you're deciding what to participate in. Essentially, do fewer things, but do them really well.
Well, we don't know if he was overcommitted, but in 1795, Hinton James walked 170 miles from Wilmington to Chapel Hill to become UNC's first student. And Friday marked the 216th anniversary of his arrival on campus. The GAA and the student group The Order of the Bell Tower provided refreshments in the pit as students celebrated Hinton James Day. Hinton James himself made a visit from the past to walk around campus and teach students about himself and Carolina traditions, as well as taking photos with starstruck students. Okay, so neither of those guys was the real Hinton James.
Chapel Hill town officials are likely to report tonight that the town will not be relocating its library to University Mall. The town council has spent several months researching the most cost-effective option to increase the size of the often crowded library. The two options that received the most consideration were an on-site renovation and a move to the building currently occupied by Dillard's at University Mall. The move to the mall was the front-runner for a while because planners thought it would be $5 million less expensive than the renovation, but they now think the difference would be closer to $1.5 million.
You can now feel a lot safer about your privacy and purchasing histories when buying textbooks or other items on a popular website. The courts say the Department of Revenue must stop requesting personal information of Amazon.com shoppers. State officials say they need the names and addresses of Amazon's online customers to begin collecting an estimated $50 million in sales taxes on purchases made since 2003. The ACLU argued that the state could determine consumer buying patterns if it had those names and purchase records, which would constitute a breach of privacy laws. Verizon Wireless customers can now purchase the much-anticipated iPhone. The smartphone was an instant hit, selling out existing stock in less than a day, like its rival AT&T, and Verizon is offering two versions of this model phone, with 16 gigs selling for $200 and 32 gig version going for $300. Analysts anticipate the Verizon iPhone will sell about 12 million units this year.
For some UNC students, Valentine's Day is quite the challenge. Couples battled each other in a Valentine's Day competition at Rams Recreation Center on Sunday. About 12 couples got involved in recreational activities like leapfrog and hula hoop. When the evening came to an end, the most ambitious couple won glory and matching t-shirts. Now, isn't that sweet? The vagina monologues are a spring staple for Company Carolina. This year, the performances support the Orange County Rape Crisis Center and the V-Day Spotlight campaign for Haiti relief. 21 female students organized and appeared in the show during the weekend. The actresses performed monologues inspired by real women's experiences and brought audiences to standing ovations with their stories. Well, honestly, it's feeling a lot like spring out there, despite the fact that it's only February 14th. I really want to get outside.
Yeah, it certainly does feel like spring out there. But weathercaster Joe Belanger joins us live in the studio. Joe, what's going on out there?
You know, it was beautiful out there. Very mild temperatures. It was also very windy as well. Blew some people's shirts right off. The wind should calm down by tomorrow. Will these warmer temperatures be here to stay? I'll take a look at that coming up right after the break.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad
One more
today.
time. All those boys are much too much. Those boys.
I'm Jeremy Call, and I made suction tires. Wait, what? Wait. I used a rivet gun to connect the suction cups, and then I just connected it to the tire. I got the idea from an octopus because of the suction cups, and I don't know.
Anything's possible. Keep thinking. Get started on your invention at inventnow.org.
There is also a very attractive extended warranty option that includes free service and parts for the next 5 years. But there's no need for you to get that. You failed to get the test you needed at the doctor that would have detected disease early enough where it could have been treated. So you won't be around in 2 years to see him grow up, which means the warranty would be useless. Okay, sign here, please.
For a list of tests every man should have, go to ahrq.gov.
And a happy Valentine's Day to you. I'm weather forecaster Joe Belanger. We saw mild and windy conditions out there today. Watch out for some chilly temperatures on their way for this evening, and then some dry weather ahead. We have a great 5-day forecast in store for you. You want to wait around and check that out. You're going to love it. For now, we have some local weather alerts for our area. The first being that wind that we talked about. We saw some gusts up to 40 miles an hour in some places of the state, 20 to 30 miles an hour sustained winds around the Chapel Hill area. There's also a fire weather warning in our area. That's due to how dry our conditions are. This time of the year, that's pretty normal, seeing how the humidity levels are much lower than compared to the summer. Combine those two together, that's a bad combination for spreading of wildfire. So the National Weather Service is keeping an eye on that. We're keeping an eye on this temperature trend that we're in. It's been warm welcomed by most. Our average is 53. Last Friday, we came in at 50. That was the last time we were below our average, and that was still very seasonable. Over the weekend, we were mid to upper 50s. Today, we got up to the upper 60s. It's been a very nice warm trend that we've been in for sure. Satellite image right now showing some clouds off to our southeast. They're also off to our northwest. Right here, though, we are dry across North Carolina. That's allowing a lot of that sunshine to come in and warm us up. It's also going to allow a lot of that heat to leave our area tonight, and that's why we're going to watch for some cold temperatures on their way for this evening. Another reason is due to this cold front that's about to pass through our area for this evening, going to drop the temperatures up from the upper 60s like we saw this afternoon down to the lower 30s. So you don't want to abandon that winter coat just yet. You'll still need them for the nighttime activities. Tomorrow, we're watching this high-pressure system over the Ohio Valley area. It's going to make its way into our region by Wednesday, should stick with us and dominate our region throughout the weekend and upcoming week. Looks to be good weather up ahead. All right, so for tonight back in our area, like we said, those clear skies will be with us, accompanying with a cold temperatures low of 34. The winds will stay around tonight. However, they should die down by tomorrow. The temperatures will die down a little bit too, but still very seasonable. 56, that should be a comfortable day. And here's that 5-day forecast we were talking to you about. 60 on Wednesday, 68 Thursday. Friday looks to be the warmest of the next 5 days, coming in about 72. We cool off some on Saturday, down to the mid-60s, but relatively speaking, that's still a beautiful 5 days that we got coming up.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just about to be springtime. I'm pretty excited.
Almost.
Thanks so much, Joe.
You're welcome.
You know, UNC Dance Marathon is coming up, and organizers held the Carolina Fever date auction at Players on Franklin Street to raise funds for the North Carolina Children's Hospital. Students had the chance to bid on dates with campus celebrities like athletes and members of the Cliffhangers. A triple date with basketball players Dexter Strickland, Reggie Bullock, and Leslie McDonald sold for more than $500. A date with Blue Steel, which consists of the 6 basketball walk-ons, sold for almost $400. And then John Henson flashed his six-pack to the crowd. A date with him went for $500. Well, speaking of the basketball team, sportscaster Justin Page joins us live in the studio. Justin, looks like the basketball team was pretty busy over the weekend.
We're really like they're taking time out of their busy dating lives to actually play ball.
Oh, no, absolutely. Eddie Hills picked up a big win down at Clemson on Saturday, and with the way some of the guys have been playing lately, no surprise those bids were so high. Coming up after the break, we'll show you how the men's basketball team pulled out the gritty win.
Everyone has friends. There's online friends. Friends to go out with on a Saturday night. Friends to hang out with and do nothing. Friends who show up on moving day. And then there are the friends who'll be there if someone is dealing with a mental illness. Are you one of those friends?
These things we count on every day started as ideas. Ideas from the minds of African Americans. Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Hello and welcome to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Justin Page. Members of the men's basketball team are feeling pretty fortunate after Saturday's game at Clemson. And while it wasn't the prettiest win, there's plenty of signs that the team finally might be coming into its own. Even after last Wednesday's loss to Duke, the Heels are showing that they're getting better. Look at John Henson showing off some range right there, and Harrison Barnes is showing that he can take care of business for not the last 5 minutes, but for a full 40 minutes. But what might be most impressive is the team's improvement under pressure. Unlike last season, once the Heels fall behind, they don't get discouraged, and that was the case again Saturday. Watch Harrison Barnes right here. This has got to be the highlight of the season with that dunk right there. And then watch ACC Rookie of the Year Kendall Marshall get the steal right there, take it all the way to the opposite end for two, icing the game for Carolina. And with the win against Clemson, the Heels remain in second place in the ACC before tomorrow night's matchup against Wake Forest, the team with the worst record in the league. And the schedule is looking pretty favorable up until that March 5th rematch against the Blue Devils. Meanwhile, the women's basketball team played at home on Saturday for the first time since last week's big win against Duke, this time hosting the number 21 ranked Miami Hurricanes. Early on, the Heels had success down low, but they had an unlucky 13 first-half turnovers, and Miami led 41-34 at the break. You see Tar Heel fans less than enthusiastic. UNC picking it up in the second half, tying it up at 44 within the first few minutes with that Italy Lucas layup. But that's when Miami's Raquana Williams became too much for the Tar Heels. Williams had 25 points as the Hurricanes beat UNC 78-66. And UNC and Miami swap places in the ACC. Heels dropping to fourth, and Miami moving into second place behind conference leader Duke. Switching gears, the UNC women's lacrosse team is feeling good after an exciting start to its 2011 season. It was a very tight game against Florida this Saturday at Fetzer Field. Gators thought they were about to clinch the victory until number 15, Kara Canazaro, makes this shot to tie the game at 8. And watch this, 3 seconds left, Florida attacking, but UNC goalkeeper Lauren Maxim sends the game into overtime with her 9th save of the day. And then in overtime, UNC scores first with Emily Garrity's goal, but the Gators would soon answer quickly with another point, and fans are feeling pretty good. But they wouldn't feel good about this. UNC with the ball, only 7 seconds left in overtime. Senior Corey Donahoe scores her 4th goal of the day, and that would give the Heels the win. They take on Vanderbilt Wednesday in Nashville. Meanwhile, the men's team took on Robert Morris, which hung with the Heels for most of the afternoon Saturday. But UNC first-year Nicky Galasso stole the show. Here he is scoring his 2nd of 4 goals on the day. UNC held a 12-11 lead late in the game, and senior defenseman Ryan Flanagan, we've seen him come up with big plays before, forces the turnover and finds Galasso for this huge goal that seals the game for the Heels. Carolina gets the win, 14-11. The women's tennis team is heading into a 2-week break after its first loss of the season. Ramsey was fired up as the Tar Heels took on number 2 Florida on Saturday. There you see Ramsey practicing a little bit of his own tennis moves. And early on, the ladies brought their game as well. There you see Gina Suarez Malaguti with the ace. She won the first set of her match, but soon the Heels quickly became Gator bait. Suarez Malaguti can't get the winner right here. That's a pretty good shot. Florida wins by a score of 5-2. Meanwhile, the wrestling team is looking to bounce back after dropping its senior day match against Nebraska. Here's senior Nick Stabile. He was the first to win a match for the Tar Heels, and unfortunately, only one of the wrestlers puts points on the board for the Heels, and that would be Thomas Ferguson. There you see him right there with the monster takedown. Unfortunately, the rest of the team struggled and couldn't take down the number 14 ranked Cornhuskers, and in the end, the Heels lost in a rout, 31-6. Keeping it going, the Tar Heels track and field team will finish the indoor season next weekend after winning 9 individual events at this past Saturday's meet. The Heels got off to a hot start on their way to those wins, and one of those winners was junior Scott Wood right here, taking home the pole vaulting title. Look at that, and you got to bet he was pretty pleased with the results. Another champion, senior Patience Coleman, won the women's high jump. Look at her get up right there, clearing the bar pretty easily. And the Tar Heels will look to continue their winning ways next weekend at the Virginia Tech Classic, of course, in Blacksburg. Meanwhile, the gymnastics team is preparing for Pittsburgh's trip to Carmichael this weekend after a disappointing home loss to the number 18 Penn State Nittany Lions. Here's Morgan Evans on the uneven bars, and this performance landed Evans in 3rd place on the apparatus. And check out Elizabeth Durkak win an aerial and flip into a double twisting dismount brushed up on my gymnastics. She placed 3rd with a career best score on the beam. And here's Krista Jasper on the floor. She took 2nd with a career best performance. But the Tar Heels just didn't have enough for Penn State. The Nittany Lions won by nearly 3 full points. In another event this weekend, the men's and women's fencing team traveled to Durham to take on the Blue Devils. Unfortunately, came up a little short, but nonetheless, very busy weekend in Carolina athletics. And a big game tomorrow for the Heels. Should be easy, but you can't take every game for granted.
But we're all looking forward to it. Love seeing us play this year. So.
Absolutely.
Definitely looking forward to it. Thanks, Justin.
Well, coming up after the break, there are several popular myths about the UNC campus.
And one has special relevance today.
I'm Caitlin Ferrugia. That and more coming up after the break.
If you have a story idea, call Carolina Week at 919-843-8292 or email us at carolinaweek@unc.edu. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNC-CH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina 27599. Be sure to check out Carolina Week and Carolina Connection online at carolinaweek.org.
Okay, guys, time for takeoff. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go! Wow! Whoa, look at that! Is that Jupiter?
Hey kids, it's time to go to the planetarium.
Moorhead Planetarium, where dreams become reality.
Students will drink from the old well or help the Davy Poplar to stand tall. But how many would pucker up to test a UNC legend?
Caitlin Ferrugia followed one couple to see just how deep their affections lie.
Senior Jordan Seal and junior Sarah Vancelis are similar to other couples at UNC. They spend time doing homework together and enjoy watching Carolina's sporting events. But there's one thing the couple hasn't done yet: kiss on the bench beneath the Davy Poplar. Legend has it that if a couple kisses on this bench, they'll get married shortly after. But Vancelis and Seal say it might be some time before this happens.
It's one of those things that you don't want to jinx it, you know?
Yeah.
Because then if you do it and it doesn't work out, well, you don't want to disprove something like that.
Although no one knows how the myth originated, most campus tours include the kissing bench, passing its superstition along to the next generation of Carolina students.
Hundreds of students interested in UNC Chapel Hill take a tour of the campus as part of their application process. On these tours, many of them hear about some of Carolina's other famous myths, such as if you drink from the old well, you'll have luck with your academics. Sam Jones is an admissions ambassador who mentions all the myths in his tour, including the bench below Davy Poplar.
According to legend, if you sit there with your college or high school or any age boyfriend or girlfriend, your sweetheart, and you kiss them on that bench, that you're destined to be married. So, you know, we say choose carefully, always.
And as for Seal and Vancelis, the couple said they might make their way to that part of McCorkle Place someday. In Chapel Hill on Valentine's Day, I'm Caitlin Ferrugia, Carolina Week.
I really do love all of the myths and legends on campus, but that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it definitely is. Have you ever kissed anyone on the kissing bench?
Thank goodness, not yet. I don't plan to anytime soon.
It is a lot of pressure, but
well, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Good night.